You want to hit your goals, but you're not hungry. Ever happened to you? Since I have come out of my reverse after a cut, so diet macros, low macros, through a reverse, which is adding on calories each week to move my body out of being on a diet and get my body back up to the maintenance level. I'm now at maintenance, about 2,000, just slightly over 2,000 calories a day. And I am finding I am not hungry. And, you might think, well, that's never a thing for me, and I totally get that. But I know I'm Amanda, I'm 46 now, and over the past 3 years, I've been working on macro tracking to be well after 40. And I've gotten to work with a lot of other 40-somethings. And a lot of you say this, and now I see, isn't this interesting that for a lot of us, whether we know it or we don't know it, we're not eating enough. And getting ourselves to eat enough is a piece of the puzzle. It sounds so hard to believe. So here's one way I go about getting the nourishment, nutrition, calories, carbs, proteins, fats I need when I really don't feel like eating. I'm not hungry, but I know I haven't eaten in 16 hours. I've done my fast. It's time to eat kind of thing. So I'm going to make one of my chocolate smoothies. So I started with a cup of plant milk. Sometimes I only use a half a cup. Today it's a cup of this Eden soy that has 12 grams of protein. So that's a nice start. Really good. I want to get a great dose of protein in here for my first meal of the day. That makes me feel energized and very full and satisfied with what I've eaten. I don't feel sluggish or anything. I just feel like, woo, ready to go. So I've got my 12 grams of protein there. And then I wanted to try some invisible veggies and more of my food, and I bought this big bag of yellow squash and green zucchini from Costco. So I chopped up the zucchinis into little coins and froze them because I'd already experimented with that, and the zucchini is beautiful. It works in smoothies. It works shredded up in chili. You can put it in your oatmeal. One of my amazing women who's doing Macros 101 with me, Amy, told me recently, and I'll share this soon, about how she put the zucchini into her banana nice cream, and I've been putting it in my chocolate smoothies. It gives it a really good texture. It's more like ice cream or a shake. Now I'm out of my zucchini, so I had also that yellow squash. What I did with that, same as what I did with the zucchini, was I didn't cook it or anything. I just gave it a wash, kept the skin on because there's great nutrition and fiber in the skin. And then the zucchini I put in my food processor, just whizzed it all up. There was this huge thing of yellow squash. And I was like, what do I do with it now? So I froze it in my muffin maker thing. What's that called? Muffin pan. And this is so about a third of a cup of frozen yellow squash just went in here. And I know you're like, that's disgusting. But you don't taste it. And in fact, it makes this taste more sweet and more like a shake texture. It is amazing. Invis-a-veggies. So the yellow squash is in there. It's a third of a cup. I'm not sure how much it weighs. We could have put it on the food scale. Hello, Amanda. So for the rest of my ingredients that I put in here, I get out my food scale. Can you see that? And I just keep zeroing it out and adding. So I've learned I like the taste of about 60 grams of banana. So this doesn't taste like banana. It just gets sweetness and fiber and thickness from these frozen bananas and gives me some carbohydrates. I tend to have a few less carbohydrates now that I'm 46 in my break fast meal. There's a little science behind that. And I also just feel good that way. And I've been having more carbs in my final meal, and that's been supporting me staying asleep better at night, is something I've noticed lately for me. And so there's not my normal 70 grams of carbs in this meal. Going to be about 40 grams of protein though. So let's get the protein going since we've got the frozen veggies, and we're going to go with a few couple friends for protein here. So I'm using about 16 grams of this PB Fit, which is a processed peanut butter that they have essentially taken some of the fat out of. So you get the protein, the peanut butter flavor. There is added sugar in here. A tiny amount of coconut sugar is in here. Then I use some vegan plant protein. I only do 1 scoop, what they would call on here half a serving. It's about, again, 16 grams of this one, because then to me, I feel well. I enjoy the flavor of this. It doesn't get weird or chalky or salty or give me a stomach ache or anything like that. So I'm pretty darn happy with 16 grams of the Four Sigmatic plain flavor. I don't like anything sweetened with stevia. Monk fruit gets too sweet for me too, so this is plain. This again has a tiny amount of added sugar again, in the form of coconut palm sugar. So I keep track of that adding up throughout the day. I want to ensure my added sugars are absolutely less than 25 grams a day. So that's less than 100 calories worth of added sugars a day. And I usually am far, far, far below that. And that is wonderful for my gut, because as I age, my gut's like, we're not trying to process all that sugar. We do not feel good. And my blood sugar doesn't like all that sugar. My attitude doesn't like all that sugar. My fat loss doesn't like all that sugar. My energy level doesn't like all that sugar. So I've stepped back from sugar. Good thing I had so much when I was younger. And last but not least, I'm going to put in a scoop of collagen peptides, which are a protein source. You can argue about what the rest of the things they are that they do, but I use them as protein source. This is definitely not vegan. It's not even organic. This is made from cowhide, but it is what it is. It's something I use. It works in here. So now at this point, this is a great base for whatever flavor you want to add in. Right now it just tastes sweet and creamy. That's about it. So I'm going to make it chocolate with this amazing cocoa powder. I adore it, from Navitas. And I use about 2.5 tablespoons, which is 15, 16 grams. Powdered things tend to weigh about 15 grams in the serving size suggested by the FDA and this company. So let me get a little more. I love this stuff. It tastes like dark chocolate. So if you're a dark chocolate person, this is amazing. And it has really great macros. There's a tiny bit of fat in here, 8 grams of carbs, 5 of them being fiber. So this is a super source of fiber, which is happy gut, happy life, lots of fiber, all good. Fiber, fiber, fiber. And even 4 grams of protein. Hey, I'll take it. Now this is gonna taste like dark chocolate. That's what I want. To enhance the dark chocolate, you've got a little grind of salt. You can do one more. You could put in a little bit if you go there. Coffee makes chocolate taste more chocolate. So if you had a little like powdered coffee granules, that would level this up. I usually don't do that because I've already had my 1 cup of coffee this morning, and then I do some decaf later, and I already have a bit of a flavor of coffee addiction. So just my salt will bring out more of the chocolate flavor, and that's all I do here. You could have put in berries and made this a berry smoothie. You could do pineapple and mango and strawberries, an amazing combination. You could do a whole bunch of greens and make this a green smoothie that's also creamy and sweet because of the banana. You could put some greens in here and not really even taste them. Especially I like kale. I feel like you taste it even less than spinach, just a small amount, a little bit more greens in your life. And this turns into a pretty good protein-packed meal. There's a little bit of fat in here, not as much as I would usually have in a meal, and a little bit of carbohydrates. Again, not as much as I would usually have in a meal. So this isn't a meal, but this is a nice way to get my day going on a day like this, when I am going to be going to my daughter's school where I help serve lunch, and then we're invited to eat lunch with the kiddos. And so I can have a few more carbs and fats, maybe even a touch of protein over there, and round out my beginning of my day. And feel really good, and feel like I wasn't stuffed. So I've read a little bit of research and a lot of anecdotal evidence about this concept that when we just drink for nutrition, and instead of chewing, we feel less full. So when I am struggling to get the macros in, I lean into drinkable macros like this protein shake I made, so that I'm not chewing. This kind of goes down fast. Have you ever noticed that? You're like, how did I just drink all of that and I don't even feel full? Sometimes I want that. So that is why I on purpose am breaking my fast with this smoothie today, because as I mentioned, I think a piece of the puzzle that's happening is I'm finding my maintenance calories, and my body's just getting enough fuel, and so I'm not having as many hunger feelings. My hormones are pretty in balance, so my body isn't saying send out the hunger signals. In fact, it's sending the we're full, we're good signals. So the smoothie is a great way for me to get in lots of macros, and I'm just gonna put it over here on the Ninja, which I have to admit, I'm in love with this thing. It's got this Go cup. It has this nice lid, so if I am not finished in time before it's time to get up and be the lunch lady helper, I can take all this with me and feel really good. So I got in, this is about 40-ish grams of protein. I'm just around like 10 grams of fat, and the carbs are pretty low. I will have to check in my MyFitnessPal, I can't remember, but they're low. So this is a great way to get myself going, as I mentioned, and Sometimes I've noticed when I'm not hungry, if I at least go ahead and break my fast, have something, I get a little bit more like, okay, I'm now going to be able to round out the other macros that I need to have to call this a meal and be moving towards my goals for macros for the day. All right, let me know, do you ever have that same feeling when you are tracking your macros and working to get the food in, you realize it is a challenge, and you kind of have that pull and push inside of like, well, I don't want to train myself to overeat or eat when I'm not hungry, but I know the fuel that my body's telling me that it needs, and you know, there's that tension there. I feel like I experience that a lot, and it's interesting to just work through that and see, you know, some days I say, okay, I'm just going to listen to my body, and I'm just not going to eat up to my calorie goal for today. And then usually within a day or two, I've got my appetite going and I'm feeling strong, and I'm like, yes, I would need to eat all those 2,000 or 2,100 calories today to feel really well. And just remember that I'm not a computer or even a car. I don't always need the same amount of fuel. I'm a human body with a lot of, you know, gray areas. And so when I'm trying to give myself a chance to get the fuel in, and I'm not that hungry, a smoothie is the way to go. If you want to hear more support like this, always remember I have my Well Woman's community here on Facebook, and you can get to it through Instagram as well. If you catch this on Instagram, there's a link in my bio on Instagram. They make it very easy on you. Here on Facebook, you can just ask me, just speak up in the comments, and if I get time before I go over to the school, I'll put a link in the comments for you as well, where you can join my Well Woman's community. It is a private Facebook group for women 40 and over who are wanting to be well. So we talk about food and meals, kind of like this. We talk about macro tracking. So again, connected to what I was talking about here about eating enough and understanding the role of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in our lives. And then we talk about hormones and exercise. Because what I've experienced over the past 3 years of becoming the CEO of my own health, when my doctors were like, this is just how it is after 40, and I was like, no, not good enough for me. I realized the three big players for me, and for then a lot of other women I got to work alongside, were our food, our nutrition, our exercise, and then how hormones were behind the scenes of all of that. And so that's what we talk about over there. And I'd love to have you. So let me know, or just search Well Woman's Community and ask to join the group, and I'll get you in there, and we'll get you lots of support. We have lots and lots of great trainings and recipes of the day and all kinds of stuff over there. So we would love to have you. Have a fantastic day, and let me go enjoy my smoothie.